Howard of Big Paw Garage here on YouTube threw out a challenge to the members of the Custom Diecast Renegades and Hoodlums group on Facebook to do a post-apocalyptic build without any aftermarket parts. To use only scraps that we had, parts from other cars, or scratch building what we wanted to put on these cars. Now, everything I've done post-apocalyptic so far, which hasn't been many, I've used 3D printed parts on all of those. So this was an exciting idea. And I have several scraps. If you look back at some of my videos, you see that I've chopped up all kinds of Volkswagens. And on this one in particular, I ended up using, as you can see here, there's a split window top from a Volkswagen. There's a hood off a Volkswagen. The split window came off the Käfer convertible I created from the Käfer Racer. The hood was off of the bug I used to make the bug shaker. And then I had sides that I cut off of a cool combi, and I ended up using them for fender skirts on the truck. Those were cut off the sides of the combi so that you could see the shark engine that I threw in there. And then you see that little rear spoiler that I put on there. That's actually the back door from a combi. I cut that off when I created a smoothie combi and didn't want that back door up in the air. So those are the parts I used, and then I decided to scratch build kind of a tank barrel for this thing. You can, when it comes to having different little styrene scraps, you can't go wrong, and Evergreen sells those kits of odds and ends, a variety of tubing sizes, and basically different size scraps of just sheet styrene. So you can't beat having those around. I threw some paper clips out there. I was going to try and figure out how to use paper clips. There's a Maisto, I believe the car's lead slinger, I think is what they call it, that I took the guns off of. They were kind of integrated into the engine, and I just cut the engine off from underneath it. Ended up throwing that on the hood. But this was interesting, just trying to figure out how to get parts to fit and what parts you want. And there's after I put the guns on. And so I ended up using a variety of Citadel paints. Keith over at Outlaw Speed Shop recommended them a while back. He uses them in a lot of videos, and I followed that lead of his, and you can't beat this paint. So what I started off, I wanted to have the colors, the underlying colors, as bold as possible. And you're probably thinking right now, what the hell is he doing? But I ended up using I think that blue is something like McCrag blue, something like that. And the green that I use on the barrel of the tank barrel on there is actually, they call it something like Wagah flesh, and it's green. And I used that, and I got these bold colors, and used typhus corrosion for the underside. You don't see that yet. I haven't got to that yet. But then I muted those colors using Xandri dust. And so I wanted the different shades, and so I thought putting the bold colors down first would get me there. So then I covered them with the Xandri dust, and then I used there's Nuln Oil, and there's Agrax Earthshade. Sorry, that's tough to say. And on this one, I used that Agrax Earthshade, which has more of a brownish tint, and so it seemed more appropriate than the Nuln Oil. So there I am painting that over, and again, it's just a wash. It's a very thin wash. So it just adds a little more color. You can just keep brushing over it. If it goes on too dark, you just keep lightening it. The brushes I used on this basically are beat to hell brushes. It's not like there's something with a super fine point or really high quality brush. It's almost sloppy intentionally. So I've noticed that even though I use those bold colors to start off with, all of the post-apocalyptic builds I end up doing all look like they've just been driving through mud. And I'm happy with them. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't like the results, but at the same time, I'm going to try doing something a little different with the next one and have a little more bare metal kind of look to some of the parts. Something I'll do on these, I always like bringing out some details with brass and silver. So I've got Sharpie paint pens, particularly the brass. I really like using that. It may seem kind of goofy, but I think it just adds a little flavor to it. And I figure if you're going to polish anything, if you're out there, and come on, we're always going to polish something on our cars. So I think if there was something brass, we'd polish it. So here's where I ended up. And as you can see, all of that is scraps from other builds or Scratchbuilt in the case of the barrel. Oh, and the seats inside also came out of a VW interior. So there's the end result. This was a fun challenge. This was different. Yeah, I'll use 3D parts in the future, but this was a good challenge. Something that, like making the gun, the tank barrel kind of thing, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. This whole build was fun. So I thank Howard for throwing that challenge out there. And hopefully you like this video. If you do, give it a like. Subscribe to the channel. There's going to be more of these builds in the future. There's a Halloween build coming up. There's a few special projects coming up. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please feel free to leave them down below in the comment section. Love to hear what you all say. Thanks for watching.